Yes, it has been recorded. Okay. So you are able to see the screen, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So good. So let us. So anyway, so last class, we have discussed, you followed, right, the material properties and the advantages and disadvantages of steel we have seen. Okay. So we have all the metal properties we have seen, and the most important thing what we have seen was this stress strain curve. Okay. So that is between stress and strain, say when you do this tension test. So this we have done in our seen in detail in our last class. Okay. So from the tension test, say what parameters we will get from the curves. So from this curve, what parameters you can extract? What are the important engineering parameters? The last class we said, right? We will design, we will derive so many parameters from this stress strain curve. So one was, the Young's modulus, all of So okay, that is E. Then yield strength, say okay, that is Fy. Then we can even derive ultimate tensile strength, okay, Fu. Then apart from that, what other things you can get? What is the area under this curve? See, what is the
Toughness.
area? Toughness. Okay, excellent. What is the area under only elastic portion?
Resilience.
Resilience. Okay. So and we have given some examples also. Okay. So resilience. So like then ductility. So that is defined as this strain, or you can define in terms of elongation also. So ductility. Then this also we can see. And then apart from these things, we have also seen some important things in the tension test when you are doing for mild steel. So now what are these known as? So the small variations you will see here, say okay. So what do you call them? Although it is a plastic region, what do you call these small variations? So the small variations, what do you call them?
Luders band.
Loaders bands. So this also we have seen. Okay. Then we have also seen one very important thing. Okay, that is what we call as this Boschinger effect also. Okay, but this happens only when your structures is subjected to cycles, that cyclic kind of a loading only. Okay. So because what happens here is, your load can be tensile and suddenly it can go compression, then tension, compression, tension, like this, it keeps on going here. Okay. So now here, what is the Boschinger effect? See, suppose if you have loaded your specimens, say you have gone already into the plastic range in tensile, in the tension region, say. So now when you go towards the compression, there's a yield strength. Say in compression, yield strength in tension, both of them will be same when it is in elastic range. But once one region, if you have gone to this plastic, this one, so automatically so your compressive, this yield strength in compression, say this becomes very less, or vice versa also. If it is a compression, then tension. So this is what we said. So an increase in tensile yield strength, say, occurs at the expense of compressive the yield strength. So this we call as Boschinger effect. This is common for all the materials. The steel also exhibits this type of things itself. Okay. So this is a famous thing. We may not be using here, but if you are using, like next I told you, right, we have several courses are there, next sem and then advanced courses. So when you are designing bridges, steel bridges, or you have foundations, say steel, let us say you have, and you have a turbine, something like that. So then this also has to be considered in our analysis. Okay. So like this, you can do several material properties you can derive from simple tension test, or you can do, I have shown you some YouTube videos to find out the toughness, say. They have done this, you followed it. So this equipment and others also, we have seen in our last class. Okay. So where you hit, the equipment with this one, and you measure how much energy, has been that potential energy, difference in the energies has been taken by your specimen. So this will be same as the area under this curve also. One can compare. So this you get from tension test. So this you have a special, this notch toughness test also. So this also gives you energy. This also will give you the energy transferred to the specimen. And we have seen the mild steel, say the main advantage is it has a ductile kind of a thing. It doesn't break into two pieces. But if it is a high strength steel, say, then it becomes brittle and it breaks into like a brittle kind of a failure you will see. Okay. So this we have seen in our last class, and then we have seen all those details like advantages, faster construction, advantage scrap value is there, and the disadvantages we told the fire. So this is the main fire means 500 degrees centigrade, say that's it, your structure has already lost 50% of its yield strength, and 1000 means gone, 100% of the strength is completely gone under fire itself. So the same thing for American, manufactured steel or whatever this one. And another important thing was corrosion actual. Okay, so this is what we said. Why corrosion happens is you have steel plus you have oxygen and you have this water. Say that's it. Okay, so you will things automatically rust starts coming into picture. Now when you are located near this like in the sea coast, say you will have some other extra type of things will come, corrosion comes, and this is a very a complicated issue. So how to do this corrosion, there are some coatings are available, and it's a very active area of research. Okay, still we don't have a good this one how to protect this mild steel from corrosion, but things are going on. Okay, so this is also one negative thing of the steel itself. Then this also we said, so whenever you are having the steel specimens, it's a sharp edges actually, then also the ductility is lost, and it becomes a brittle kind of a thing. Then fatigue already we have seen, low cycles, high cycles, how the steel that behaves. And so finally so this is advantage disadvantage we have seen. So now finally the steel whatever we are going to use in our for our building materials, so these are the final properties. Okay, so these properties are given in our IS 800 also, based on of course the the what are the specimens they are getting manufactured in companies like Tata Steel, JSW Steel, and other things. So this is the final the metal properties. So tomorrow in exams when we are doing any problem, say like somebody are design this one, so these things are standard. Okay, they are not going to change until and unless you are using some other special material. But if you are using mild steel, so these are fixed actual. Okay, so they are given in our IS 800 in the starting itself. If you see, so this you have to assume actually. No need to whether you are designing a plate girder, whether you are designing beam, column, whatever. So these things are going to remain constant, because anyway this is a material property. Okay, so this is the most important thing. So it is available in IS 800. No need to memorize never this one. So now this is also the final one. So we will be using FE 410, 410A, BC. So these classifications are there. So these classifications, these companies they manufacture. Okay, for these type of classifications here. So now what is 410? Nah. So this notation already we discussed in last. 410 corresponds to nah. See what is this 410? Nah.
Ultimate strength.
Very good. So this ultimate tensile strength is nothing but, so this is a grade and then yield strength also. So yield strength, if we say, it depends on the thickness. So yield strength of mild steel says all 250, 250, 250 we have. Suppose if it is greater than thickness say 40, then 230 like this, these numbers comes up. So these are the standards, okay, which we will be using in our the code. So whatever structural steel we are using, say, so these are special steels, micro alloyed, high strength steels, and this one. So this anyway, we will not be using in this course. Okay, we will be designing only mild steel. But these specimens are also available in outside. These companies are manufacturing. So if you want to use, then these parameters they get changed. Okay, and then this now ductility say. So generally ductility you can define via several things, but our code say it gives like a percentage elongation actually. Okay, so this so 23% is the elongation for our mild steel, and this sharp notch impact energy say. So impact energy is nothing but the test I have shown you, right, like yesterday YouTube. So that specimen gets released and it hits this one. So this is they are giving in joules actual. Okay, the units, so 27 joules or something. And if you find out area under your stress strain curve from simple tension test, approximately they may be same or some small minor here and there, their differences can be there. Okay, so now this is what the percentage elongation. So it is nothing but elongated length minus gauge length by gauge length into 100. So gauge length is nothing but your specimen. Okay, so how much we have taken and other things, I think we already shown. This is what the gauge length actual. Okay, so this portion say LC or whatever, so this we call as a gauge length. How to do in the test itself. So these are the final. And another most important thing you have to remember is whenever they are saying 410 or 250 say, so generally, you know, right, when you are doing, you know, in a steel test, say, if you take the specimens, okay, like, you know, several coupons, you know, you take from Tata Steel or whatever this one. So if you test the specimen, say, you will not get exact, you know, the 410. You will have, there will be some variations. So what does this 410 corresponds to? Nah, like in concrete also you would have seen, right? So this, for suppose you have, if you take specimen 1, okay, in the lab and then you test, say, you will not get 410, you may get some 415 or 413 or maybe 405, or you know, you don't get a single number because of lot of uncertainties will be there. So like that, if you have tested 100 specimens, okay, now you will get different 100 values, 401, 402, like, you know, 415, 420, all kinds of randomized things will come into picture. So now this, when the code is saying 410, what this 410 corresponds to which, you know, in a probability, it corresponds to which quantity?
Characteristic strength of 5%.
What is meant by characteristic strength?
5% of the total
Uh,
number of samples will be performing less than 410.
yes, excellent. Okay, so this is our characteristic strength, and 95%. So if you take a normal distribution, so Gaussian distribution, so this number turns out to be, you know, 1.64, right? The sigma. So this is the meaning of, you see, the, you know, this character of 410. So when I'm saying 410, say, let us say if I test 100 samples, okay, so out of 100 samples, 95 samples will be having the strength more than 410. That is the meaning of our, you know, these numbers. So this is what they say, characteristic strength. So this you have to, very important thing. Okay, so when somebody says yield strength is 250, say, it is essentially the characteristic strength. When you test a specimen, you will get different values, but if you test 100, say, 95% will be more than this number. So that is the guideline here. Okay, and this is what the ductility also, which is mentioned in terms of, you know, the percentage, you know, the elongation. Now, you know, so these are the main properties here. So now still concrete design, say, when you want to do a concrete design, the shape and mold and other things you will prepare at the site itself. You can mold whatever shape you want. So if you want to have, you know, trapezoidal section or that section, this section, so you can do whatever way you like when you are doing, you know, RCC design. But in steel design, you have a limitation. Okay, then the steel design, what happens is it's essentially like, you know, the building blocks. Okay, so you would have, when you are, you know, you will be having these blocks will be given to you. Okay, so you don't have a freedom, you cannot cast whatever specimen you like, because as I mentioned it here, the main design say, it is not only depends on the engineer, but companies play a major role. Okay, this is a Tata Steel. So because they are the ones which are manufacturing the steel, so they, you know, they have these things under their control. So these, all these companies say, so they will give you these building blocks. Okay, so steel design is essentially like your Lego toys, you know, Lego also, you know, you don't have freedom, so they will give all the, you know, basic building blocks. So with that, you have to construct, you know, whatever, you know, the structure you want. Okay, so now in our codes say, so our companies, they roll these type of things like I sections, you know, they roll these companies, they manufacture these I sections. There are also several classifications like, you know, ISMB, ISJB, junior beam, medium beam, lightweight, and others. They also manufacture rolled channels also. So this we call as a channel section. Okay, so I hope all of you would have studied I section. You would have already seen, like, you know, you have a flange, then you have a web, you know, all those things will be there. Then we have angle sections. So these are special sections we use. So two legs will be there, you know. Here you can have unequal angles also, equal angles also. So when D is B shape, then you will get equal angle itself. Then we have a T section. This is also widely used in our, you know, the design. T section is there. Then square hollow sections we say, SHS or something. Then rectangular hollow. Then we have circular hollow sections are manufactured by the companies. Then square bars, circular bars. Okay, so they are solid, these bars also. Then we have flats we say. Okay, then we have these plates also. So all these things are manufactured by our companies. So where do you get all these details? No. So if you want to find out, you know, what are the sections which are manufactured or which are available in the market, say, so which book, which standard you have to follow? So yesterday I have sent you in WhatsApp, okay, the IS standard, that is steel tables you have to check, okay. So if you see this is steel tables, say, yeah. So you are able to see, right, this PDF.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is the handbook we say for structural engineers. This is the structural steel sections. I have sent you in WhatsApp our this one. It is available online. So this is our the fundamental the book which we have to follow. Okay, so for our this one. So it will have several things you can see. Steel beams I showed you right there. Channel sections, equal angles, unequal angles, bulb angles, T-bars, plates, sheets, strips, mild steel flats, then bars. All the details will be given in this book. So this book is something like your Lego, the building blocks. So all the details will be there in this book itself. So sometimes some places the companies are nearby, say you may not get all these sections. So these companies also depending on demand and supplies. So they don't manufacture all these things and keep them. Okay, so it be based on the demand they may give you will have like whatever thing. So now so this book is like a the starting point for all the designs, and it will give you all the design variables. Okay, now what are the main design variables? Previously, we have previously also we have seen what are the most important design variables. First class or something you followed. No? We have discussed. What are the important design variables? That is the dimensions.
Section modulus for a beam.
Which one? No, please tell once again.
Section modulus.
Section mod, that is for beams. Okay, so what are the important design variables? Section modulus, for the beams, that is Z. So this is a which we use actually. Okay, Z, that is nothing but I by Y only. Then what other things you want? Length, depth, these dimensions are also required. So length, width you followed, right? The thickness, then another. So if it is a tension member, say, so what is the what you require? What is the design variable in a tension member? Sigma is equal to P by A. Okay, so P will be given sigma, the yield strength 250. You have to find out the area. So area of the cross sections. So then if you are doing, long, that columns, say, what are the important design variables for columns, slender columns, apart from area?
Slenderness ratio.
Now, what is slenderness ratio? Essentially, what do you want to find out? How do you calculate slenderness ratio? What parameters you require? Slenderness ratio. What is the expression for slenderness ratio? It is the ratio between what to what? Now, what is slenderness ratio? Define.
Length to maximum thickness.
To maximum thickness, or it is a radius of gyration.
Yeah.
You followed, right?
Yes.
So these numbers will be there. So these are all the design variables: section modulus, slenderness ratio. Sometimes you may have to polar moment of inertia also may be required for you, because you may be having torsion also. Then moment of inertia also, Ixx, Ixy. So these are all may be required. These are all the design variables. Okay, and in steel, say, apart from all these variables, another important parameter is, because steel sections they are already manufactured, you have to connections also becomes very important. So if you use this I section, say, what should be the size of the bolt, minimum size you can use, what should be the gauge distance. So connection details also becomes very, very important. So these are all the design variables: length, width, depth, area, section modulus, slenderness, moment of inertia, so polar moment of inertia, then the connection details. So these are the design variables. Now all these design variables are given in our steel codes. Okay, so this is the one which contains everything actually. Okay, all the details will be provided to you. No, area, width, everything is there. So if you browse this one, so I will show you. So now this is our I section. Okay, so I sections, there are I think 4 are there. ISJB. So this stands for Indian Standard Junior Beam, then Indian Standard Light Beam, LB means, and then Indian Standard Medium Beam, then Wide Beam, ISWB, ISHB, I think some high strength beam. So like this, we have all the details. So now you are able to see it, right? So the notation is people use ISJB 150. This is how they call. So what does this 150 corresponds to? Now you see this table and tell me how the classification comes. ISJB 150 or ISJB 200. What does it, this ISMB 100 is there. What does that 100 corresponds to? I section. It is
Depth of section.
depth. Here already it is there. You can see depth is also, you know, like this. So now these are the connection, the details they will give. So like for example, ISJB 150 say. So its weight will be given. Okay, that 7 kg per meter. Why weight is required? What is the use of the weight of this material? What you will do?
Dead load.
Dead load, excellent. Okay, then sectional area. So this area is required for, if you want to use it as a tension member, so area is required. Then depth of the section, width of the section, thickness of the flange, then thickness of the web also. Okay, then we have the moments of inertia they give, IXX, IAYY. Then we have radius of gyration also. As already I told you, right? Why do you require radius of gyration? To find out slenderness ratio and other things also. So the same table is continued next page also. Okay, they also provide you section modulus also. Directly they give it to you. ZXX section modulus in X direction, section modulus in Y direction. So this is a very important design variables for beams. Not only beam, if there is any bending movement or something is there, so section modulus, flexural stresses are there, say section modulus is a very, very important, the design variable. Then radius at root. Okay, you can see this figure. What is the radius at T? That is the sizes it gives you. Then slope of the flange. See, now all the I sections we use in the this code say. So like if we see how these I sections are looking like. So now this I section say what is happening here. That is a junction between flange and web. Whether it is smooth or it is this perfect this one. It is smooth or discontinuous here. The connection that is between web and flanges. How the things are looking like. Now, see what happens if you have I section like this. See, like I have I section like this. Okay. Generally, this is how you would have studied in your mechanics of materials. Like this is our I sections generally. So connection will be like this perfect 90 degrees will be there. But then in our steel codes, the manufacturing they don't go for very smooth. You would have seen, right, that sections. So very the smooth kind of thing we have, the smooth connections. Okay. Now what is the advantage of this? Now which is better, this or this one? Now which is better, this or this? What is the disadvantage of this? They don't manufacture these things. Okay. What is the disadvantage of this one? So if it is 90, what happens? Just now I told you, right, before our last class also we have discussed this disadvantage of steel. What happens if the things is not smooth?
Corrosion is more.
Which one?
The 90 degrees corrosion is more.
Corrosion. No, not corrosion. You see, we discussed, right? I showed you that slide itself. So which was this slide. You are able to see this slide. You are able to see.
Yes, sir.
So now what happens when you take this 90 degrees?
There will be higher stress.
Higher stress, and it may lose ductility also sometimes. Okay, so but if it is a smooth thing, say it will be nice lower stress concentrations will be there. So this is why we use this type of smooth things. Okay, so this is why we do these things. So now if you see this PDF, right, so that steel section, so they give you all these details. So section modulus, radius, so you can see all of them will be smooth kind of thing will be there. So to avoid that one, and we have another columns which tells you the connection details. So connection details and maximum size of the flange rivet. So this IS, I think ISJB, right? This is ISJB 150 is a starting one. So for ISJB 150 say. So this you can see here, there are some holes are located here. So you can put one rivet in the one rivet or one bolt actually in the flange, this side of the flange, this side of the flange. So two bottom flange, top flange, so two can be done. So now this says is the maximum size of the flange rivet say or flange bolt. So you cannot drill if you want to fit it to some 25 mm bolt or something, you can't do. So that gives you 6 mm bolts only can be used for this ISJB that first section. and they will also give you the gauge distance, pitch distance and all the other things. We will see in the connection, we will define all those things also. So it also tells you all this detail. So now when the depth is increasing, say like for example, ISMB 500 is the last one, this one. So for ISMB 500, so the last one, you can see, you can even fix, a 28 mm, the bolt itself, and the gauge distance, all other details will be provided. So this book is something like, our Bible kind of a thing. So generally what to do, you do analysis, structural analysis, you find out the bending moment, shear force and other things. Then you find out the stresses. Anyway, yield stress of steel is very well known to you, 250, whatever you have here. So using the bending moment or axial load or whatever, so you find out the area, how much area is required. So now if it is a tension member, as already told you, it is the area is the one which controls. So let us say you have done design and you have got some area as something around 18 centimeters square or something, say. So now which section you will take? Now, so you have solved analysis and using sigma is equal to P by A. Okay, the load is known, sigma anyway 250 is the yield strength of this one. So area also you have calculated. Let us say area you have got as some 18 centimeters square, say. So now in this table, which section you will take as a tension member for 18 centimeters square? Which one you will use?
ISLB 150.
Excellent. ISLB 150 you take it. But suppose if it is 48 something, say, okay, so you will go for ISLB 300 itself. Suppose if it is a compression member, say. Now compression member, as already we told you, so you have to check the radius of gyration also. Okay, so what you have to do is area is one thing, sigma is equal to P by A, but apart from that, the slenderness ratio also have to be checked. And so our gyration, radius of gyration, IXX you use, and then your length and other things will be given to you. So based on that, so you have to search for that combination. Okay, so like that you select all these sections. So this is for the I sections. So IS, as already I mentioned, ISMB, medium beams, WB, now in the market, say, which beams have any of you have an idea? So in the market, which sections are available in the market? So if you go to any steel shop, say, ISLB, ISMB, wide width. So he will not be having a stock of all these things, which are the widely used in India, which beams, which I sections are widely used in construction. LB, JB, MB, WB or HB, which one will be, what I sections you will be looking, in markets, which are the frequent ones in India? See, ISLB, ISMB, JB, WB, HB are there. So the widely used is, even in your structural engineering labs, say, you will be doing a test. So most of the things are all, I don't know how many of you have an idea. So ISMB, okay, the medium beams, are the ones which are widely used in our market. So if you go to any shops, these will be in stock. Other things, you have to order, the company has to make, and then, other transportation, other things, you have to bear. Okay, so these details will be given. So now similarly, say, so this is for I sections. Now this is the channel section. So channel sections also, they have like junior channel, light channel, they have several classifications. So these channel sections also same in a similar fashion: weight, area, depth, width, thickness, web, flange, then the center of gravity, then moments of inertia, because it is not symmetric, this channel section. So moments of inertia, radius of gyrations, so section modulus, connection details, what should be the maximum size of the flange rivet you have to use. So all those details will be provided to you. Okay, so now in a similar fashion, say this is an angle sections. So angles also, which are widely used as a tension member, compression member, variety, cases we will be using. So we have equal angles, unequal angles. So this ISA, you can see 2020. Now what does this mean? ISA 2020. So this corresponds to what? 2020. See, for I sections, we have seen that is for the beam. Now for channel sections, say, what does this 2020 stands for?
Size.
Size means which size? 20 by 20 means this angle, this leg and that leg actual. So it is an equal angle section because it is a 20 by 20 itself. So it varies, thickness is given, sectional area, weight, center of gravity, distance of the fiber, extreme fiber. Then, they also will provide you moment of inertias, radius of gyrations, section modulus, all those details will be provided to you. Okay. So these are the equal angles. Then, so similar fashions, there are several angle sections are there. Equal angles, then I think we have unequal angles also. So unequal angles, they give 30 by 20. So 30, 20. So one leg will be 30, other one will be 20. So they are unequal kind of a thing. So here center of gravity, it varies, right? Because it is they are not symmetric cross sections. So all the details will be provided. Moment of inertia, around the principal axis, everything will be given. And radius of gyration, section modulus, radius, and the connection details, everything will be provided, with this, this book. So this book is our, the building blocks, Lego book kind of a thing for you. Okay. Now I think this is bulb angles also. Some times, we may use these type of things. But in our, as far as this course is concerned, say, we will be using frequently our IS, that beam, I sections. Then we will be using channel sections. Then we will be using the angle sections itself. So with this, we will be using, but some problems is in. So you may have to use these type of special sections also. Okay. And a T section, this also we will be using. So, NT, we have all kinds of T sections, weight, area, depth, same standard. So everything will be given, in one book. So this book contains all the building. Then these are the plates. Okay. Sometimes you may require a steel plate, so this also we use. Then I think flats are there, several things are there. All of you browse through this document, once actual. Okay, what is there, what this document contains, so all the details you can go through in this document itself. So plates, flats, everything will be provided to you. Okay. So now let us go back to our PPT. Where are we? Yes. So now these are the sections which are available in our that steel tables. Okay. So if some of you are interested, so if you type it in Google, somebody has given even Excel sheet also for this one. So there is an Excel sheet which is available in Google. You can download this sheet. If you type ISMBC, automatically the details, it shoots up, or maybe several apps also are there giving all the details. So these are the standard shapes which are manufactured in our factories and which are available, okay, in the market itself. All of them may not be available. Sometimes you may have to do a frequent, and there are other issues will be there. So like you would have designed I sections here, but that may not be, economy also matters a lot, because weight, you have seen, right, the weight, the weight of the steel. Of course, dead load we can compute, but the weight of the steel can be used to find out cost also, because the cost also is proportionally to the weight itself. So sometimes instead of going for I sections, some other sections we use depending on the availability. So many issues will be there. Okay. Now apart from this, we also use what we call as compound sections, or the built-up sections also. Okay. For heavy loads, generally we use this also, built-up. Okay. So these kind of things are also one can you manufacture at the site itself. So what one does is, let us say you don't have an I section. So what you will do, suppose this I section is not manufactured in the factories, it is not available to you. Now you want to manufacture I section. How you will do that one? See, I sections are not available. Now you have to design I section using other things. So what you will do? No.
Take two C sections and
so take some of these. Yes, excellent. So you can take a plate, this plate you take this one, and then you put one here, you can get your own I section actual. Okay. Or you can take several combinations are there. You can take two channels, say, and then you can construct, you can make your own the I section, but you have to do the welding and all other things you have to do. So like you see, this is a T section. Sometimes in some problems what happens is T section will be fine, but you may have to require the higher moment of inertia or higher area in one direction, other direction you may not. So what to do is you take a T, then you take a plate, that steel plate, and then you do this connection, so if you want, so this is also one way. These are all compound sections, are we do fabrication. Then you can see then I section has been fabricated at the site itself. So take some 3 flats and then do welding. So automatically you can construct your own I section also. So this also people do at the sites. So if they are not manufacturing, if you want that one, the design, if you are unable to meet all the requirements, say, so you take some of these basic things and then you manufacture your own thing. This is a double channel. You can see 2 channels he has used and constructed I section. So like this also a T shape can be made, So this is also one way. So for heavy loads, sometimes you may have to do these type of all these details itself. So we have, these are the standard shapes which are available in the steel tables. This is not available in the steel table. So this you have to do your own. So like somebody asked, what's the moment of inertia for this, say, this I section, that is not available in the table. So you know, right, how to calculate moment of inertia, section modulus. You would have studied in your mechanics of material, the center of gravity, radius of gyration, say. So all those things you have to calculate everything with your own details. Not only that one, even connection details also, like what should be the minimum size of the bolt which I can use with this section. So what should be this welding details? So all those things, you have to do all some extra, the calculations have to be done. So this also we do. Most of the people, they use this also in practice. Okay. And now this is the one, before we go into other details. So this is the one most important thing in steel is, see, like for example, in our concrete or wood in mechanics, say, when there is no load acting on the structure, what will be the stress? Yeah, so I have a member. Okay, so there is no load which is acting on this beam. What will be the stress in this beam? Yeah, what will be the stress in the beam when there is no load acting? There is no load. What will be the stress?
So due to self weight.
Yeah, apart from self weight, say. Okay. Very good. Your observation is fine. So there is a weight you just ignore, say. Okay. No load. So if there is no load acting, so what will be the stress inside?
Zero.
Zero, obviously. Okay. And now but in steel, say, in the steel members, the unfortunate is you have an I section, say, or a channel section, say. Okay, so these channel sections, when there is no load is applied, acting on the section, stresses will be zero. But in steel, the problem what happens is they are manufacturing these sections in the factory. So how they are manufacturing these steel sections? By heating, then cooling, all kinds of things they do. Okay, so when you are doing cooling of these sections, say, sometimes it has to be uniform cooling. So like I section, if you are manufacturing, say, so here what happens is the temperature when you are putting in a, the cooling section, so here the cooling may be more or cooling may be less here, so we will have all these kinds of problems here. So right, so which is quantity which can give you stress without any load also, apart from dead weight. See, like for example, I have a beam here which is resting here, say. Okay, so this is my beam, no load is acting. But if I want to increase its if I want to stress it, okay, so what happens when you increase the temperature? See, when you are having a beam, nothing. So if you just increase the temperature, what happens? So you have a beam, no load, you are increasing the temperature, what happens?
Length will increase.
Length will increase. That means strain will be there. But what will be stress?
Zero.
Stress will be zero. You would have studied in mechanics. But the same beam, say, I have fixed actual. Okay. Now I have fixed at both the edges. Now I increase the temperature. Now what happens?
Stress will be higher, but strain will be zero.
Strain will be zero. Excellent. Okay, so same problem happens for steel also. Okay, so during manufacturing process, okay, so because the manufacturing process, so you have, when they subjected to hot they take it, it should be uniform cooling kind of a thing, but that doesn't happen. So sometimes there's web cooling, something slight, then this cooling will be something slight itself. So whatever steel specimens you are getting from the market, say, before you cast them, before you apply the load, they will be having some stresses already inside. Okay, the stresses are not zero. So these stresses are known as the residual stresses itself. Okay, so this happens because of manufacturing and other kind of issues. So if they don't cool it properly, say, then you will have these type of things, and you have to account for this residual stresses also. So like for example, if I have this flange here, say, so the flange stress should be zero, but these edges will be in compression here, but the middle sides it will be in tension. Okay, that is the middle of the flange, because these edges will get cooled fast because they will be outside, no. So these edges will get cooling, happens when manufacturing, so that goes into compression, but inside the temperature will not be uniform, so you will be having tension inside. Now if we take the web, say, here you will be having tension inside, is the compressive stresses will be there. Now similarly, so for plates also, the edges will be in compression because they cool fast, because they are the edges, right? They cooling, they will cooling happens fast, but inside they may not be able to, some these changes will come. So flame cut edges, this rolled edges, so you will be having these type of issues itself. So this is a very, very important thing in residual stresses. So although you have not even applied load, but still stresses will be there because of this improper cooling or whatever happens during the factories. Okay, so this you should just keep it in mind itself. So these were welded eye sections, and as already I told you, right, if you are manufacturing this at the site itself, say, so they bring this, they do welding, at the site itself. So when you're doing welding at the site, it is not even a factory. Then you don't have control on the temperature. So what happens is you may not. So these residual stresses comes into picture itself. So this is how the residual stresses, it looks like this. Okay. So this is, so before applying the load itself, they have already the members are under stress itself. Okay. So this is most important thing. We should keep it in mind while designing these things. And if you are doing compound sections or built up sections, so this problem is much more severe, because people will be doing welding at the site and cooling, the temperature, it is not in our hands. Okay. So this, these are something, the guidelines, like, how to do these things and what type of stresses will be there, so that, you account for this also in our design somewhere here and there itself. Now another most important thing in our steel designs, okay, which has been come in recently in IS 800, the 2007, they have started, the previous code was not having classification of sections. So this is also, it is there in our steel IS 800. Okay, this is a very, very important thing, okay, which you should know, the classification of our sections. So this they have given one, I will show you that PDF 800. So if you see somewhere here, right, one table will be there. So this is our IS 800. Okay, so I have already sent you in WhatsApp. So you can see here, this is what I copied in my slide also. So physical properties of steel, say IS 800 is they give. Now, so here one place they have added this important table. This was not there previously. This is the one table. Your people are able to see this one, table 2?
Yes, sir.
This is a very, very important table. Previously in the old code, no, it was not there. This is what they have brought, the section classification. Now I have shown you, right, that building blocks, I section, channel section, these sections are there, are built up sections also. So now our IS code, what it does is, these sections, whatever section you are going to use in our, tension member or compression or beam, you have to classify them. There are 3 classes IS code gives: plastic, compact and semi-compact section itself. So their definition is, like this. So what is meant by plastic section, so then plus compact section, semi-compact, then we have a slender section itself. So what happened, why this classification comes into picture is in our steel, say. So what is the main problem is all these members, if you see these sections, okay, so these are all, what's the main problem with these sections in the channel section or flange section? What is the problem you see here? This section or even the flange or the side section or channel section. Anyway, our design criteria is yield strength only, yield strength or maybe ultimate tensile strength, and we may be using it for a beam or a compression member or whatever. But the major problem, what happens with this section? What is the main problem? Can you anybody identify with this sections? Why we have to do this classification? Why this extra? Now, what's the main problem you see with these sections? Now, so I section means you have a flange, you have a web, and you have this bottom flange, top flange will be there. Now, what are the thicknesses of these flanges? Now, thickness of web or thickness of flange, say, there will be very, very small. So now what happens if you use it for as a compression member, I section? Now, so if you use an I section as a compression member, okay, so if it is a long column, say, so all of you would have seen the buckling, right? So this is the one which is expected actually. Okay, so if you're having a column like this, so this is a buckling mode shape. Okay, the whole column should buckle in a single go itself. So this we call as the global, the buckling phenomenon, which you would have studied in mechanics also. That pi square EI by L square. So that formula is applicable for these type of global bucklings. But now what happens here in some cases, because of web and flange, they are very, 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 very thin, say. Now what happens before global buckling, there is a chance of local buckling also. So local buckling means, the member will not, the member is fine as a whole column, it is still doing fine, but the, this flange buckles actually, or sometimes web only, the buckling you will see it only in the web itself. So this phenomenon we call as a local buckling itself. So what do you mean by local buckling? Now, so if you take an I section, say, so what is the meant by local buckling here? Now, so if I'm using this I section as a, a column, say, so what is the meaning of local buckling? Now, so which is buckling in local buckling means the whole column is not buckling. Which one is buckling only? No, I just told you, right? Which one is buckling here?
The flange or the web?
The members actual. Now suppose if I use this channel section, so which one will buckle here? Channel section. Whole channel is not buckling. The small, this one or the web, say, they are buckling. So the individual, these are buckling. Suppose if I take angle section, say, one leg buckles, the whole thing structure is fine, but only individually the members are buckling. The problem why it is because they are all very, very thin, so thin means, there is always a chance of buckling itself. So this we call as, the local buckling. So this very, very serious problem. See, like this is a beam, this is a beam you followed, right? You will be studying later also lateral torsion buckling and other things we will see. So here also the whole beam doesn't buckle, but only the flange, the small, these things you will see here are web buckles. You are able to see this figure here. See what is the speciality of this figure? What is buckling here? This is a beam. It is a channel section they have used. What has buckled here?
Flange.
Only flange. So this you call as a local buckling. Now web also can buckle, sometimes. Now here also you see here this figure. So what is buckling here? So this section which has buckled here. Now this is also like your angle section or something. So here what has buckled, you can see here. So this only one leg has buckled, other leg is perfectly fine, and the structure overall it is fine, but individual members have buckled. So here also you can see here. So these they have buckled, but overall structure is fine. So here also you have a beam, the flange has buckled, so this happens in steel structures. Okay, this is a very big headache actually. So generally our pi square EI by L square, all those formulas, radius of gyration, whatever you have studied, they are for global buckling, but they are not meant for this local buckling. So if you want, so this is a very, very serious issue in steel structures, because these are all very, very slender. Overall beam is different, but individual, if you see, these small portions, say one leg, if I see individual T sections, if I see only flange, if I see only webs, they are all very, very thin. So there is a chance of these, they may buckle first instead of the global buckling mode itself. So that's why our IS code, what they have done is they have classified the sections into, this four kind of a sections, four kind of things itself. So they say, this member strength or whatever say. So they say that, so the cross section you have to proportion. Okay, so the cross section, you have to proportion the cross sectional say. So it has to be proportion such that this local buckling doesn't occur. Local or overall buckling. Okay, like this flange, web, and others, they don't buckle. Okay, the flange or web, so they should not buckle actually individually. No buckling. So this is our design criteria. So for this, so they have given this, the before the limit strength state is achieved, say. So this buckling strength should be, lower than our Fy, that is a 250. So this, so our yield strength is 250. But this individual web or flange, they may go at, much lower than your yield strength itself. So they give this, the width to thickness ratio kind of a thing in our steel design. Okay, what should be the minimum width to thickness such that there is no chance of local buckling, only global buckling only will happen. So they classify these type of sections itself. Okay, so this is the most important thing which has been used in our code itself. That is in IS 800 they have introduced. Previously, it was not there in the older code. Some guideline was set, but now you have a specific table has been given. So this is a table. So if you are having I section, say, so for welded section, welding means you have done welding at the site. Rolled section means it comes directly from the factory itself. So they give this ratio B to thickness of the flange. Okay, so the width of the flange to thickness of the flange, say it should be between these limits 9.4, 10.4. So this has come from the experimental this itself. So based on this, you have to say your I section is a plastic or a compact or semi-compact, and there are guidelines, you know, like you should not use these sections for beams, you should use only plastic section. So guidelines are also provided in our IS code. Okay, so I will stop here. So we will continue in our next class. Tomorrow class I will show you how to classify the sections. So for the steel tables, say we will see how to calculate whether it is a plastic or a slender or what type of a structure it is. So with this, you know, we will our overall view about steel will be fine. So we will be moving towards load calculations in the next class. Okay, fine. So we'll stop recording.